Kevin, he and Marie could make together. Something devious, sinister, and vicious was after Kevin, and had been since he crawled his way out of that grave in St. Louis No. 1. He would have died that night if it were not for Marie, his eternal love, but fighting off the ghoulish creatures was just the beginning of a very long journey that would be tougher than the specter that almost killed him. Only he and Marie could make together in their eternal embrace. Was it love that could stop this? Or was it devious cunning, meticulous characterizing, and harsh action equal to that had been thrown upon Kevin which he had not asked for to begin with? The tide of threats was wearing on since he had been attacked several more times, and he had deployed his coterie, which was a big help and comfort to him in this severe time of need. They had been much help, Caprice, Gangrel, and Lord Alex, a Tremere, who had been working with them since the beginning, even though they did not know it at times. They did not trust Lord Alex simply because she was a member of Clan Tremere. After all, Caprice has always said that they sucked more than human blood, sometimes to the bone. Caprice had good reason, too. Most kindred, especially good vampires, or those who try to be, feel that way about the Tremere. Usurpers, that they were according to the majority, and in kindred society, unfeeling and uncaring by default, mob rules. That doesn't go for all of kindred society, especially for the coterie that gathers around Kevin and Marie. Good, decent, and moral kindred they are, or at least they're trying to be. They have developed feelings for one another, and in this world of darkness that is very rare, some say impossible. Instead of a test of true friendship, this situation it is friendship from a test. Kevin and Marie have taken up residence on Bourbon Street in the French Quarter where together they are seeking comfort and refuge in each other, and gathering an occult library that might even rival that of House Tremere. In fact, it might make them cry. It is an honest effort to gain knowledge and resolve the situation surrounding Kevin, and get to the bottom of who's attacking him and why. In fact, that's what they are all doing, each in their own way. Stormy, Vargas, and Caprice are taking up surveillance in the warehouse district apartment that Stormy earned from Prince Widow when she took down a gang of rabid Sabbat Malkadians who had infiltrated the city just after Prince Widow had taken it back from them. Stormy had survived the Carnival of Terror, and now she's taken back the ground upon which it happened, and is rebuilding Jazzland, Six Flags over New Orleans as her own form of amusement. Stormy has compiled a large number of files of her observations, that is going to be a great help in this investigation for Kevin's liberation from evil forces. All the coterie has to do is sit down, cat, and discuss the knowledge within them. That and some footwork just might do the trick. Of course, the surveillance cameras will help a great deal, too, and Caprice and Vargas, and Stormy knows just what to do. After Stormy had poured them the special wine with the blood that they all craved, her secret recipe that was passed down to her from two princes, and was handled and made by House Tremere because blood magic was required to make it, but that wasn't something that she could tell the others who distrusted the Tremere with everything that they had in them. So she kept it her little secret, and in time they would see that they were not harmed by anything that she had given them. She had meticulously, at every gathering of the coterie, laid out the table and glasses just as she thought Prince Black Jade would want her to. She wanted to make her proud, and one day hopefully she would if Prince Black Jade was ever found. Cypress Tides, now the home of Prince Stormy, left to her back Prince Black Jade, was almost exactly as Prince Black Jade had left it. It was like a mausoleum that Stormy did not want to touch, because she knew, but she would find Prince Black Jade. It was here that the coterie gathered nightly in hopes of finding an answer. Stormy was becoming a perfectionist despite all she could do not to because Prince Black Jade was a perfectionist herself, and keeping up with Cypress Tides was almost all she could do because following in the footsteps of a Toreador was an extreme that she did not think she could handle, yet somehow she was doing just that. This night they gathered at Cypress Tides, coming in the parlor through the loud, loaded creaking of the hundreds of years-old doors of the Southern Antebellum mansion of the Garden District, New Orleans. For the coterie it was just like any other night in New Orleans, a clear and unmercifully February night just after Fat Tuesday, which they had attended on French Quarter Bourbon Street. Things had gotten a little hairy with the mortals that night, even having almost riots that had spilled over all the way into the Garden District from the religious extremists that tried to stop the festivities. It was heard even at peaceful Cypress tides. Kevin, with his arm tightly around Marie, sat thoughtfully on the divan looking slightly away in the distance contemplating how to describe his experiences to the coterie. They were hard to describe especially since they were paranormal in nature, ghostly and ghoulish to put it mildly. As hard as it was to swallow, even the vampire community didn't really believe in ghostly and ghoulish things, which made it very hard to talk to other kindred about. Kevin would have a go at it anyway. Scene, it was so hot the homeless of New Orleans could fry their eggs on the pavement along any of the old, cracked streets of their choosing. It hasn't rained in ages, and you could cut the humidity with a butter knife, because of not only the normal weather, but the hurricane that just hit southern Texas. They had a near miss, but boy, the kindred in the city could be thankful that they were only slowed a bit by the cold blood in their systems rather than an actual living human flesh that suffers immeasurably with the side effects. Stormy was setting up the parlor, living room, at Cypress Tides where the coterie would be meeting tonight. Why go out on the sultry streets when Jade had left her this comfortable antebellum southern mansion? She sighed as her memories with Black Jade flooded her mind. Kinda made it sad, somber for her as she prepared for her friends to join her. She began saying her affirmations as she worked along, placing each wine glass just like the former prince had taught her so long ago. She did smile because the affirmations did remind her of Vargas, and she was so happy that she was back. That was her personal bright spot. Kevin, however, he had problems, and big ones. Who was this Augustus Giovanni anyway? The one the spirit had said the name of? Vargas. Wanders in from her room. Hey, another extra hot night. The city must be going wild. How are you tonight, my prince? colon. Stormy looks up to Vargas. Colon. Oh, as they say, cut it with a knife. Colon. She laughed a little, trying to overcome her sadness at all of the memories here in the parlor with Black Jade. She looks at the coffee table. Colon. I hope that I got these right. I'd hate to mess it up. My hat doesn't think that I should. Colon. Stormy laughs heartily at Vargas's quip. Colon. I think that the humans would be miserable by now in this. Crap. I am fine, how are you? And stop with the my prince crap, my friend. Colon. Stormy had that sparkle in her gray eyes that Vargas would find warm and familiar. Colon. Kevin saunters in quietly with Marie on his arm, pulls out a chair for her and waits for her to sit down before he makes himself comfortable beside of her. Colon. Vargas. Grins and bows. Yes, my prince. Cracks up. How are you guys doing? Any more insights this night, Kevin? Marie. Colon. Marie sits on the chair and smiled to Kevin. Thank you. She turns her head to see her old friends heading their way. Hey. Long time no see. How are all of you doing? Vargas. Very well, even in the heat. Kind of used to it, old times. Looks at Stormy. Any further word from Caprice? Colon. Stormy grins at Marie and Kevin. Colon. Welcome. Again. I'm good, how are you? Colon. Kevin greets Stormy, takes a seat beside of Marie, and crosses his legs, looking at Vargas thoughtfully. Colon. No, I'm afraid not. The last I heard was when the spirit fought me here, and left me on the floor in the hall with the name Augustus Giovanni. Colon. About that time in this Ferrata named Caprice dances in, looking and acting very high. She had just fed and this one was full of her precious opiates. Colon. Tudacy. At Marie, my prince. Colon. Bowing to Stormy. Colon. Vargas. How goes it? Vargas. Feeling good as hell. Caprice. You know it, sister. Colon. She just leaves that kinda hanging there because she didn't know what to do with herself right now. She was muttering something incomprehensible, maybe still talking to Vargas? Who knew? She checked out Stormy's setup on the table. Miss Prince, what's all this? Stormy. Stormy was still meticulously trying to place the wine glasses. She finally steps back and looks at it again. Have you guys fed? Want some blood wine? Marie. Marie looks to Kevin wondering if he already fed. Did you eat yet? Vargas. Smiles, always, my friend. You have the best vintage. Kevin. Kevin smiled, took Marie's hand and kissed it ever so gently if she allowed him. No, dearest, have you? Stormy. Stormy grinned at Vargas. At least she had gotten something right. She begins pouring the glasses full, or what she thought Jade had taught her was full, and handing them out to all who wanted them. Always the best for my friends. Vargas. Vargas looks at Marie and Kevin. You should drink up. We need to be prepared with the Giovanni in town. Caprice. Caprice takes a seat beside of her new friend Vargas. She liked Vargas. We should take a run-through of those surveillance cams that we set up in Prince's apartment, especially after that gang chased me down Bourbon Fat Tuesday. Marie. Marie lets Kevin kiss her hand. She turns her head to look at Vargas. Thank you. We all should drink up to save our strength. She picks up her glass. Shall we toast to our courage? Vargas. Vargas smiles back. Absolutely. Courage and friendship. Raises her glass. Kevin. Kevin smiles at everyone. He was so glad that he had good friends like this. He picks up his glass. Yes, to our courage. And friendship. Stormy. Stormy wasn't used to being hostess yet, and trailed a little behind the others, but finally gets a glass of her own, and joins in. To our courage and our friendship. Marie. Marie drinks her glass and nods. It's so good. Vargas. Vargas drinks, as always. Stormy. Stormy downs hers and grins big. Almost as big as Caprice with her high on. She's finding a lot of pleasure in this hostess thing after all. She did good. She was very proud of herself at the moment, and took pride in the encouragement that her friends were giving her right now. Thanks ULL. Caprice. Caprice definitely joined the toast, and was looking around the room. Kevin was smiling, legs crossed, looking the gentleman that he was. He was handsome sitting there with his ruffled white poet's shirt looking fondly at Marie. Caprice must have had an inspiration in the moment, or the toast. Who knew with her? She put on her #mask of 1,000 faces #, and suddenly looked like Louis de Point du Lac and said, Shall I begin like David Copperfield? I was born. I grew up. Vargas. Vargas smiles, then looks surprised. Whoa. That is really impressive. So. Pit. Like. Laughs a little. Caprice. She died laughing. Waff, waff. Kevin. Kevin looked deep in thought. Yet again. As always. With him. Always thinking. Problems. Once he would like to take a long evening stroll, and go to the docks, enjoy the ocean air, the fishermen, the smell. No, wait, you. He wondered. Why was he actually smelling the docks? Marie. Marie laughs. Now that's funny pulling up like Pitt. She finishes her glass and puts it down on the table, colon. Vargas looks at Kevin. How go the security cameras? Kevin, colon. Kevin nodded at Marie and laughed with her. Suddenly, though, he blurted out, colon. I smell the docks. The fisherman, colon. Was this guy present at any time at all? Live in the present, Kevin, colon. Caprice. Tootsie number 2, Vargas. The cameras are Minez and Yorn. Colon. Caprice grinned, colon. Vargas. Vargas looks deep in concentration. Not that I recall. Kevin. No, like right now, guys. I smell the actual docks and the fishermen there. Vargas nods at Tootsie, then looks inquiring. Anyone else smell fishes? Caprice. From the streets you can smell the restaurants, but no, not right now. Colon. Caprice shook her head. She grinned to herself that she got Vargas going with the Tootsie. Colon. Vargas frowns a little thoughtfully. Anything smell odd to you, Marie? Marie. It's worth checking it out. Let's go. Marie nods to her. Yes. Stormy. Stormy shook her head as well, leaning back on the beautiful bar that was in her house. Behind her. Where else would it be? She was leaning on it after all. It must be hell in a handbasket being inside a Malkavian's head all day. Stormy would assure you that it was, colon. No, I smell wine. Vargas grins at Stormy. Maybe something is being jogged in Kevin's lapsed memories. Stormy. Colon. Stormy grinned back at Vargas. Colon. Maybe. Kevin. Marie likes to travel, I think. Colon. Kevin noticed. Colon. Vargas looks at Kevin. Which doc? Vargas looks very curious. D. Kevin. Colon. Kevin laughed. Colon. My nose didn't tell me. I smell ocean. Fisherman. Vargas grins. Atlantic? Road trip? D. Caprice. Atlantic? Road trip? Where are we going, Marie? Colon. Now he was looking from Vargas to Marie. To Stormy. Colon. Marie. Perhaps I can drive us there to the docks? She looks to them. Colon. Vargas nods. Sounds good to me. Stormy. Ever drove a Camaro? Colon. Stormy asks Marie, grinning. Vargas grins. You gotta give it a spin. You are gonna love it. Vargas, let's go. Let me take a gun, though. Don't know what's out there. Especially with Giovanni in town. They like to have their fingers in many pies. Maybe even fish pies. Marie. I could drive a Camaro. Votham. Like Jessie does in the show. Too soon, Jessie. Marie smiles. She takes out her car keys and jingles it. Ready? Let's go. Marie guides them to get car. Stormy. Stormy laughed so hard she snorted. Yes, fish pies. Guns.
Will you turn up
Votham.
a little bit?
Jessie. Throws Marie the keys to her Camaro, her baby. Vargas grabs a gun, slides it into her open leather jacket.
All day. I didn't
Stormy.
put it up, but
Stormy was always on to the teeth.
had on clothes.
She had to be Dot.
Freezing, Daddy.
Vargas. Vargas seems fine in leather regardless or weather. Caprice. Caprice was just watching this show here that was playing out in front of her. She was enjoying it too. Fun would be had. Vargas. Vargas grins at Caprice. Who you gonna be tonight? Caprice. Batman? The Hulk. Marie. They all got in the car. Marie uses her memory to guide throughout the town till they got to the New Orleans boat docks. Here we are. Is this the place, Kevin? She watches his reaction, and held his hand to give him support. Vargas. Vargas doubles over laughing. Kevin. Kevin pokes his kinda longish nose out the window, but not too long. He's handsome, remember, and takes a good whiff. He does it again. And again, It all smells the same to me. Vargas. Vargas whispers loudly, help him out, Batman. Sobers up some, sorry, Kevin. Caprice. Caprice grins and sniffs the damn air too. Kevin is right. Fish. Ocean. Wet dog. Vargas. Vargas nods. Off in the distance, way over where the Jolly Coterie wasn't looking, there was a soft thump of feet landing on the ground. Someone hid behind what held up the feet. It was over in the fog, just beyond the lights. Kevin. I guess we walk, Kevin shrugs and gets out, taking Marie by the hand and helping her out, Nice job driving, my love. Vargas. Vargas squints, trying to see what caused the noise. Vargas looks around. Kevin. Kevin sighed and began to lead them all down the docks, his boots thumping along with his somewhat heavy footfall. Now he was alert. He was paying attention. Almost to himself he said, come on, show yourself. Vargas. Vargas stays alert. Marie. Marie holds on to Kevin's hand. She hears the thumping on the docks. What was it? Who's out there? She's curious. Vargas. Vargas slowly pulls her gun and moves it down to her side. Not much shifts in the shadows. It was too quiet. Suddenly a very quiet grunt, at first, then muffled as if a hand was over a mouth, then died out. Kevin stopped in his tracks, not liking this. Meanwhile, not yet, my child. It was spoken as if to an actual child, but it could only barely be detected. It was coming from the alley, way back in the fog. Vargas. Vargas turns slowly, trying to detect where the sound came from. Precept plus alert diff. Vargas. Roll 4d10. Vargas. 5 7 10 5. Vargas knows that it is from the alley to their left, the only one in sight right now, Two suck. Vargas. Vargas gestures with her left shoulder in the general direction. Stormy. Stormy eases up to the alley and gingerly looks down it, being careful not to tip whatever or whoever off that she is there yet. They can see one huge figure. What is that? Wings? Maybe. And a second figure, a biker? Huh. They disappear with a swift movement. They are gone. Vargas. Vargas nods slightly. Vargas swears softly. Stormy. Stormy looks at Vargas, then to the rest of the group. She listens for long moments and gets nothing. Kevin is looking around everywhere. : Caprice. Okay, let's go. We're looking at ghosts. Yeah? : Caprice dances around, not meaning to, of course. : Vargas. Vargas looks to Marie, questioning Toreador traditional sharp awareness. Stormy. : Stormy puts her hand on Vargas's shoulder to be of comfort. : I'm right here, my friend. Vargas. Vargas nods and softly says, very odd. Looks perplexed, just vanished. Stormy. A lot of things around here seem to just vanish lately. : Stormy said thoughtfully. :
Yeah.
Marie. Marie looks around listening for any movements and thinks, : what if it's in the warehouse? Vargas. Vargas looks at Marie. Do you think so? Vargas turns towards the warehouse. Stormy. : Stormy nods. : Worth a look. Vargas. Vargas moves carefully towards the warehouse, eyes alert. There is a big noise this time. Thimp. Caprice turns to see the huge half-stone winged creature. Gangrel. Vargas. Vargas tried not to jump. Shit. Caprice. Caprice stammers and the big bulk picks her up and throws her over his shoulder. He screams, : Caprice. No. Not again. Not going. Vargas. Damnation. I almost shot you. Vargas looks upset. Stormy. : Stormy pats Vargas to calm her. : It wouldn't have fazed him, my friend. Vargas. Vargas laughs softly. Gangrel. : Gangrel continues to throw Caprice around the bulk of his shoulder like a rag doll. : You remember last time? Fat Tuesday. Gang? Found you? : Gangrel was very upset. Caprice tried to calm him to no avail at the moment. Behind them from the direction that they had came a Harley roared coming toward them. It stopped at Gangrel. A blonde biker chick sat on it in all leather and gloves. The bike was hot pink and purple. : Child, I told you to stay back. She's okay, see? Vargas. What's going on, Gangrel? Looking at him with concern. : Stormy. : Stormy looked at the biker chick. : Well, Lord Alex. You're joining us again, I presume. Just got back in town, I see. I know everything. Gangrel. : Gangrel tried to explain to Vargas how worried he had been since that happened to Caprice, and how he would stop it next time. : Vargas. Vargas nods, I bet. Any more of the Italians here? Lord Alex. : Alex spoke up to Vargas. : I didn't see any coming in. After I found Gangrel so upset I did a little hocus pocus, and it didn't turn up any yet. Of course I don't know beyond tonight. Caprice. : Caprice snorted. : Tremere? You and your hocus pocus. I don't trust it. Vargas. Vargas looks at Caprice. A little scrying might go a long way, here in the land of the Viduen. Might not hurt. Nods to Lord Alex. You see many of the Giovanni family around lately? Lord Alex. : Alex got off her bike. She may not look it when she's sitting there on it, all leather clad, but when she got off of it, and stood up there with the coterie, She had a regal air about her, one that not many even of her clan itself could brag of, as if she were somehow above it all or above something. Time would tell that secret. She sauntered over to Stormy first. My prince. You always have my loyalty, and the loyalty of my clan here in your fair city. She looked to Vargas. The Giovanni, and I and my clan, don't have such a rapport. She smiled then turned to Gangrel, concerned.